Hi and welcome back to MDriven. In this session we have an issue in a real case when downloading documents from a grid. So I'm going to start with the standard default model and start up the turnkey prototyper. And to simulate the case that we have at the client side, I'm just gonna put a document in this details grid down here. So imagine that we had an attribute down here that was a document blob. That maybe was a big heavy document with a lot of data in it. And we really want to avoid having to need to load all this data into memory, as we will do when we have the attribute in the view model. So if we have a blob link like that, we can mark it as that we don't want to render the content, we want to download it, and that's with a tagged value blob download link. And also we could have an additional column to give the name of the download, and we do that by giving it the same column name and append underscore file name. And I will give it the name of attribute 1. So imagine that we have the file name in that one, and we're gonna make it a download link like this, and I save by hitting Ctrl S and then upload or refresh the page. So we can see that we have it, but it points to no document really, and also it's erroneous that both the big heavy document and the file name shows. So we should probably hide this column by putting false in the visible expression like this, but we get an error because there's null in the content. So just to get a good example to test, let's see. So here we see in the query plan that the big heavy document will be fetched for all the details. On the details level we have the big heavy document. So this is actually what we want to avoid, to remove this from the query plan. And we're going to mark this as delayed fetch to avoid it from being automatically fetched as soon as we access the object. But that really doesn't help us. It will still load it since we refer to it. And we can also see it here in the analyze expressions that it will be addressed in this view model. To make a better sample, we better put some data into the attribute. So I'm gonna add a control up here that takes the currently selected detail and refers to just the selected document, and that renders as an upload control, and should be read only if no detailed row is selected. I'm just gonna pick some files here so if I set a document in the second row as well, save that, and on the third row just picking some files at random, not too big, and if I click these it will try to download that file, but it's only nonsense in them, so can't open them really. So we have this problem that the query plan fetches all the documents, but really up here it's okay, but down here it's not okay. We want to avoid that. If we have like 100 rows, detailed rows, we really don't want this. So I'm going to remove that, and we need to do something else. So let's say that we have the file name as just a text, and then put a download column next to it like this, and we marked it as the data being a link, and there is an operation to get the system URL so it should be on the sys singleton, but maybe it's one of those patterns things, so we haven't added it here. No worries. Heading over to the wiki, system URL, and it describes that it should exist one of these methods, and you should mark it with this tag value, and you should mark it as is query. So let's do that. It's a query, and also the tagged value should be set to external lake bound like this, and now we have it so we can access it here. So now we have the first URL part to the system, no matter where it runs. Now we need to know how to formulate the download link, and we get this information here. There's an MVC call that we can send in the external ID and the attribute that we want to download. Something like this. And here we're going to put the external ID, and we're going to need the attribute as well. But the external ID is self, being a detail external ID, like this. And then the attribute that denotes the document, and what was that called again? Okay, out of screen here, but it was called big heavy document, like this. So saving that and heading back to the turnkey prototype, refreshing the page, and we have two columns, file name and download. So if I press the download, I can see it tries to download, but it tries to treat it as an image, and there's some instructions here that we can send in the content type. So let's send in the content type as well to instruct the browser how to receive the file, like an application PDF, for example. Saving and going back and downloading. Now we can see it tries to load it as a PDF, but as I only uploaded crap data, it's not really a PDF. So I'm going to set one of these to a real PDF. I'll take that one, saving it, and now when I download it shows up as a PDF. And what the mission was to avoid forcing the framework to load the heavy document. So let's see at the query plan when we have this, and we can see that the query plan is not existing on the details level. So that's good. It's still on the load level, but that's okay, because then we only access one at a time, the ones we want. So that's all for this. Thank you.